Okay, we have geometry standards GSR, that's Geometric and Spatial Reasoning 4.1. And it's a large standard, so we're going to do two videos on it. So first we go over the very basics of geometry and the concept of a point. The point is an exact location, has 0 dimensions, and these red dots indicate points, what is intended to be exact locations there. We usually name a point with a capital letter. Lines are one-dimensional. They go forever in both directions. Through any 2 points is determined a line. So here we have illustrated 2 lines. And certainly you could make more here, but we're going to look at the 2 that we have. You could name the first one line DF. You can see the arrows on top. You could also call it line DG because those 2 points are on the same line. Or GF. These are all the same line. You could go backwards also and say line FD. These 3 points are called collinear points because they're all on the same line. We also have line IJ, or you could name it GI, GJ, JG. Those are lines. Again, one-dimensional, goes forever in each direction. Plane is 2-dimensional. Okay, it's kind of like a piece of paper, but a piece of paper is actually 3-dimensional, has a slight thickness. But it's that same concept of 2 dimensions. It goes up and down and left and right. Planes are often named by 3 coplanar points. Through any 3 points, we have a plane that you can put through those 3 points. And we can name it through by that DFG, for example. Or sometimes you have a single letter. They can name it here point P, or plane P, rather. Other figures that we have here is line segments. Now, line segments, notice the difference. They have no arrows. They stop. They're pieces of lines that have 2 endpoints. So segment DG would be an example. FG, okay, you could also call it GF. You could go either way with it. DF, okay, those are all on line DF. GJ, GI, and IJ. Okay, now you could say GH. I mean, technically there's a segment that you could connect there, but we just don't have it illustrated. Those are all line segments. The concept of it stops. DG stops at D and stops at G, and it's everything in between. Okay, rays. Rays are pieces of line that have 1 endpoint and continues forever in the other direction. So ray FG. Rays of the 3, lines, line segments, and rays. Rays are the only one where it matters the order. Ray GF is different than ray FG. Okay, ray GF would start at G and go that way. Okay, there are many more rays in this picture. An angle are 2 rays with a common endpoint. Okay, so here we have ray BA and ray BC that connect at B. It's called an angle. And there's lots of definitions associated with angles that we'll get to later. But we're going to focus on naming them right now. Notice this little angle symbol, angle ABC. That common endpoint is called the vertex. It must be in the middle. Okay, so we could also call it angle CBA. And angle B, if it's clear, if there's only 1 angle there, you can just name it by the 1 letter. If you name it by the 1 letter, it must be the vertex. Okay, vertex must be in the middle. Okay, here we have many angles. So say an angle B would not be clear because it could refer to one of several angles. We have angle ABC, that's that one on the left. ABD is one that's split, but we have an angle ABD. Angle CBD, okay, kind of this middle small angle. CBE, DBE, okay, so the one on the right, and then ABE, the largest angle. They all have a vertex of B, and of course you can name all these backwards as long as you keep B in the middle. Sometimes we have numbers that are used for clarity. So angle 1, for example, angle 2, it's easy to see. Yeah, those numbers very clear what you're talking about. And notice we have a degree measure here that we'll talk about later. Parallel lines are lines that do not intersect. This word coplanar means on the same plane. Okay, it's possible that 2 lines don't intersect because they're not on the same plane. But if they are on the same plane, they don't intersect. They're parallel lines. They're always the same distance apart. They have the same slope. You may remember from an earlier course. You often see these arrows on there that indicate that they're parallel. Perpendicular lines are two lines that intersect at right angles. Okay, so you probably remember from earlier course, 90-degree angles are right angle. If you have two lines that cross in that way, all four of these are right angles. Those are called perpendicular lines. Okay, if we have this figure, you would say that line segment AE is parallel to line segment BF. So this is the parallel symbol. Looks like kind of like an 11 that's written real close together, little parallel lines. And you can see that AE and BF are on the same plane. They're both on the front, but they don't cross. Meanwhile, line segment AE is perpendicular to this upside down capital T is a perpendicular symbol. So we read this line segment AE is perpendicular to line segment AB. And you can see that here. Now we assume that those are right angles. They're not actually marked, but we assume that it's a right angle here. Line AE and line AB, line segment. Can't always assume, but we will for this picture, just for illustration purposes. It's also worth mentioning that you could have the line segment AE and line segment DC, for example, that don't cross because they're on different planes. Those are called skew lines or skew segments. Here's the first part of that standard. Now the standard, again, doesn't mention a lot of things that were in this video, but the supplementary material does mention it, so that's why it has it here. It says use the underlined notions of point, line, line segment, plane, and distance along a line segment. And there's another part of that standard that we'll talk about in the next video, but basic geometry terms.